Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hi, you're watching a brand new show starting today. I am Rupha Ramani and welcome to First Sports. Now, why sports? It's a singular emotion that unites everyone the world over. It transcends all barriers. The most common yet passionate denominator. And India is on the cusp of reaching sporting eminence. From a one-sport wonder to now scaling immeasurable heights the world over. A nation on the brink of global dominance. Whether it's in cricket, chess, hockey, archery, athletics, India is producing prodigious talents across sporting disciplines. It's not just these athletes that are putting India first on the international stage. It's also stakeholders who are striving towards excellence. From following what's decided to designing the way forward. No better time than for First Sports, a platform where you will witness India shining. Where do we stand globally? Who are the top contenders across the world? The guts, the glory, the tears and the joy. Join me then on this journey of putting sports first. So what's in store today? Let's take a look at the lineup. From humble beginnings to acknowledging humbler ones, the journey of Mohammad Siraj, the speedster who helped India lift the Asia Cup title and gave his prize money to the hard-working Sri Lankan ground staff. All doesn't seem to be well in the Pakistan cricket dressing room. Some reports of squabbles between senior players have emerged. This after their dramatic and disappointing exit from the Asia Cup, losing to Sri Lanka in the virtual semi-final encounter. In tennis, a weekend of more records for Novak and a tearful goodbye to Rohan Bopanna. We bring you the Davis Cup roundup and we speak to a very special guest about India's unfortunate run at Davis Cups, Novak Djokovic's reign and Coco Gauff's rise on the world circuit. And the Asian Games is upon us. The 19th edition will be held in Hangzhou, China from the 19th of September. Who are some of the top stars we must watch out for? We'll tell you right here. That and more coming your way, but here's what's making all the headlines from around the world in Sports 360. In cricket, South Africa clinched the ODI series against Australia 3-2. This after trailing 2-0. South Africa won the fifth ODI at the Wanderers Stadium, with left-arm fast bowler Marco Jansen taking his first 5-wicket haul in ODIs and a cameo of 47 of 23 balls. Switching tracks to Formula One, Carlos Sainz won the 2023 Formula One Singapore Grand Prix in an action-packed race, thus ending the winning streak for Max Verstappen and Red Bull. Lando Norris of McLaren secured second spot, and in third place was Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton. The last time neither Max Verstappen nor Sergio Perez stood on the top step of the podium was in Brazil last year. On to football now, and Arsenal, who ended their jinx at Goodison Park with Leandro Trossard's strike, earning them a 1-0 win over Everton. Arsenal had lost their previous 3 trips to Goodison, twice to out-of-form Everton sides. Staying with football, a minute's silence was observed before the start of the La Liga football matches in Spain. This was a mark of respect for the victims of the earthquake in Morocco and floods in Libya. Players, officials and fans stood in silence at all matches in Spain's top league to pay tribute to those affected by the deadly disasters. And World and Olympic pole vault champion Armand Duplantis improved his world record with a leap of 6.23 meters at the Diamond League finals. Swedish superstar Duplantis added a centimeter to the world record of 6.22 meters that he had recorded himself earlier this year. He has now reset world records 7 times. We'll begin the show though with cricket and the Asia Cup. The ODI tournament finally concluded in Sri Lanka. This despite multiple rain breaks, some unfortunate injury scares and some very hard questions that a few of the subcontinent sides will ask themselves ahead of the World Cup here in India. Like Sri Lanka, who will wonder just what happened to them. Now let's be honest, sure the better team won, But to be bundled out for 50, their second lowest ODI total, would have made any of the Lankan greats squirm. And a few injury concerns too ahead of the World Cup. A lot of headaches for captain Dasun Shanaka, who apologised for disappointing the Lankan crowd, who would come out in huge numbers despite the weather to support them. He rued his decision to bat first, admitting that a better application was definitely lacking, and went on to give India credit for their solid performance. Pakistan, a team that was touted to give every other side a run for their money. Now, it's not just the injury concerns with some of their key pacers who may not be available for the World Cup. Reports have emerged of a flare-up between the skipper Babar Azam and the lead pacer Shaheen Afridi in the dressing room. Babar is said to have asked all seniors to stand up and deliver, and Shaheen had interrupted him. Any sort of tiffs of this kind doesn't bode well ahead of the World Cup. That's a space that will be developing and more coming out from there. But we have to focus on India, who emerged winners, beating one of the co-hosts, Sri Lanka, in a mortifying one-sided affair. We should also definitely look on the most heartening side for India to prime them for one of the biggest challenges that's coming up. Now, fans often end up glorifying the batters, and understandably so. The sight of someone thunking a delivery miles beyond the ropes or high up into the sky is a gorgeous sight. And yes, batters always prove to be a clinical cog in the scheme of things. But it is the bowlers who can turn a match around. So yes, batters may turn the tide, but it's the bowlers who will win you the games. Particularly two young ones who have inflicted most damage in this tournament. Now, when I say Hyderabad and cricket, what comes to your mind? Maybe some of the wristy, classy batters like Azharuddin or VVS Lakshman. No one can quite forget their impact on Indian cricket. Or maybe the host of spinners they have produced, Arshad Ayub, Venkatapati Raju, Pragyan Oja, all who've made a mark on the national stage. But you wouldn't have thought that from these very parts a pacer would emerge. Much less like Mohammad Siraj. There's something special about Siraj. Born to a family of extremely modest origins, his father, who was a rickshaw driver, and his mother, who was a house help. When Siraj started to dream big, he was just 7 years old. Being the highest wicket taker in the Saeed Mushtaq Ali T20 tournament in the 2015-2016 edition meant a Team India call-up in the shortest format a year later in 2017. He was the leading wicket taker in the 2017 Vijay Hazare tournament, and that meant a Team India call-up for the ODI format the very next year. That was against Australia. In 2018, Siraj also moved from the Hyderabad to the Bengaluru franchise in the Indian Premier League and created a bit of a record by becoming the first bowler in the history of the IPL to score back-to-back maiden overs in a single match. We are in the year 2020. At the end of the same year, Siraj makes his Test debut against a formidable Australia in an unforgettable Test series, a series during which Siraj lost his father, couldn't go back home to complete the rites due to COVID, faced racial abuse, and despite all this, finished as the series as the highest wicket taker for India to help script a massive come-from-behind historic win. I even remember when the entire team handed him the national flag to make the rounds around the stadium. Siraj is clearly the milestone man for working under the radar. The match against Sri Lanka, another example to reiterate this. Now, the figures of 6 for 21 shattered many records, a couple of them where he equaled the man here, Chaminda Vaas, one of Sri Lanka's greats. First Indian bowler to take 4 wickets in an over, he equaled the Lankan here. Joint fastest fifer in ODIs in just 16 deliveries, again someone who'd done it before, Chaminda Vaas. And that's not all. He's the 4th fastest Indian to 50 ODI wickets after Ajit Agarkar, who took 23 matches, the chief selector currently. His teammates Kuldeep Yadav and Jasprit Bumrah. But he's the 2nd fastest in terms of a number of deliveries bowled, 1,002 only, just behind Ajanta Mendes, who only took 847 deliveries to get there first. And his figures is also the 4th best by any Indian. Keeping him company in that elite list, Stuart Binney, and we remember that it was against Bangladesh, Anil Kumble, and of course, Jasprit Bumrah himself. best bowling figures by an Indian. Of course, we've seen this list. It is incredible. The ability to swing the ball deceptively and bowl long spells, that's what VVS says is very key when he was asked about Siraj. He says Siraj has abundance of skill, and we have seen enough examples of that on display. His records re-emphasize that. And as far as bowling long spells go, Siraj is the kind of bowler who wouldn't stop bowling. And with the World Cup upon us, this man is just about hitting the right stride. Much like our second youngster who came out shining, Kuldeep Yadav. A new and improved Kuldeep Yadav, that's whom we saw in this series and who has been building up to that in the last few months to come. Player of the series in the Asia Cup, he wouldn't have dreamt of this himself even a few months ago. Coaches close to him say that the turning point, or rather what hit him hard, was not getting a single game in the Kolkata IPL setup in 2021. The knee surgery, of course, that year made matters worse. But his stint with Delhi last year is what made things look up again. The confidence came back. And with that, the wheels of fortune started turning. The second key phase was the time he spent at the NCA with former selector Sunil Joshi, an India bowler. He made small tweaks to his run-up and the speed of his deliveries. He straightened his run-up a good measure instead of angling in, and also increased the revs and speed of his deliveries, making him more difficult to read and a key factor in this setup. And one concern, though, for India in its preparations, just a bit of it, will be Akshar Patel's availability. The all-rounder was announced in the World Cup squad. There is no confirmation on the extent of his injuries. All we know is that he couldn't take the field for the final. Washington Sundar was flown in. And the hamstring has made him possibly unavailable for the upcoming short ODI series against Australia. The team, the squad for which rather, will be announced at 8:30 on the 18th of September. That's late today. If he's unsure of making it to the World Cup, who could be India's backup options? Of course, Washington Sundar is one. It's a like-for-like call-up. But there is a very outside possibility that translating into the World Cup scenario of someone else, a dynamic and senior option. This is a space we will watch out for more, of course, but who could be this option? Listening to the captain himself.
With the spinners all-rounder, I think everyone is in the line. Honestly speaking, Ashwin as well. I've been talking to him on the phone. So he's very much in the line. So is Washi, because we want those guys who can do the job with the ball and with the bat as well. Washi was, honestly, that injury happened to Akshar last minute, very late in the day, in the night, honestly. And then we had to call a few guys to see where they are at. And Washi was available, so we had to get Washi to, come and play the role, perform the job for us. Luckily, he was with the squad for the Asian Games in Bangalore. He was training, he was bowling, so he was cricket fit. He was spending a lot of time on the field, so we had to get him. But yeah, I've been very clear with certain guys who can come up and play certain roles. So I've been talking to everyone.
Well, that's interesting. Rohit Sharma almost saying that our Ashwin, who's been out of the ODI outfit for a while now, has an outside chance of possibly being there. Of course, we do want Akshar Patel to get fit, but this is something that will be developing. And we here at First Post will cover the World Cup extensively. So keep tuning in for all the analysis and updates regarding that. Now, Davis Cup is underway and Serbia has sealed its spot in the Davis Cup finals. Now, a Davis Cup finals is played between the top 8 countries in the world. Thanks to Novak Djokovic's inspired display just 5 days after winning the US Open title. And as we know with Novak now, records are never too far away when he's around. With this win, he's equaled Nenad Zimonjić, a fellow Serbian's record 43 wins. That's top of the table for Serbia. Nenad Zimonjić, of course, as we all know, a veteran and star doubles specialist. He's also vying for another stellar record. This one will be sensational. He's currently in the 5th spot when it comes to longest Davis Cup winning streaks. Now, it's surprising that Marcus Baghdatis somewhere features at the top with 36 wins. Of course, Bjorn Borg, who can ever take that away from him? 33 wins. Boris Becker, 22. Real stars there. Rafael Nadal, 29, and of course, Novak at 20, vying for that position. The last time, in fact, that he lost a singles rubber was way back in 2011 in a semi-final tie against Juan Martin Del Potro when he had to retire. That's the only time that he's ever lost. But crossing over shores to follow the tryst of another US Open finalist from this year, Rohan Bopanna at 43, who is the oldest player to reach a Grand Slam final, played his last doubles rubber for India in their Davis Cup tie against Morocco in Lucknow over the weekend. India managed to beat Morocco 4-1 to qualify for the World Group 1 playoff. It was indeed an emotional farewell. Rohan's family too were there as he made rounds, thanking the fans and everyone who had come to witness his the tie, and of course the last time he would be part of the prestigious Davis Cup setup. The last time India, in fact, made it to the prestigious finals of the Davis Cup, and that's one of just 2 times, was 1987, where they were beaten by Sweden for the title. In our Mic Up segment, just like the name suggests, we have a very special guest in the show today. Someone, of course, who was part of the glorious Davis Cup sides of the past. He's the former Davis Cup captain, a commentator, and of course, a global sporting icon, Vijay Amritraj. Hi, Vijay. Thank you so much for joining First Sports.
Thank you. Great to be here, and was looking forward to this for a few days.
Right, Vijay. The first question has to be about Rohan Bopanna, the ageless wonder. What a phenomenal run he's had, right up till his Davis Cup farewell, which you also witnessed.
Rohan has had a remarkable career. I think I always said to him on several occasions, and even more recently, that he transformed his tennis playing habits to focus on something that he realized he would be very good at and stay focused on it. Now, he's playing doubles and across the world. Doubles, obviously, you can play at the later stages of your career, and it makes tremendous living for someone across the world. What happened? The transition took place after the McEnroe, Fleming, and our era of playing singles and doubles that we did constantly. Week after week after week, sometimes both 5 sets. And so I think when you look at what tennis has done, it has separated the singles and the doubles completely, to have a bunch of guys who want to remain in singles because the prize money increased to such a great extent. You want to protect yourself to play your best tennis in the singles. Certainly no one starts the game of tennis to say, oh, I want to be the best doubles player in the world. But I think when you look at the longevity of someone like a Rohan, who has done it with terrific grace and humility and the Indian culture always backing him and so on and so forth. It's great to see him perform the way he has. I was hosting a major event in New York one year when he and Qureshi got to the final of the US Open. And I thought it was a real landmark moment for both Indian and Pakistan tennis at the time, and both of them being on the same court against the Bryan brothers and things like that was for me, a great visual to see what tennis can do. And that's why I feel that his longevity has also helped shape where we are in tennis today, though I wouldn't stay focused on youngsters.
Well, he also said recently that Davis Cup is missing the camaraderie, the spirit that it once had. Do you agree?
Yes, very much so. I think it's been, you really don't have to be on the inside to know that. But I think all of us being on the outside and seeing, and all of them are friends of mine, all of them, I've seen them grow up from a very, very young age. Rod Rajpal, who's the captain of the team, grew up at bat with us. We have some other bat kids who are here with us today watching these matches. So it's wonderful to see all of that. The issue here is, I'm not quite sure we're going to have, 10 guys in the top 50. That camaraderie doesn't matter. I think when we played, as team playing captain and so on and so forth, my team was always a very cohesive unit. We knew that individually, perhaps we were not good enough to beat the best, but collectively we were. And I think that's where we made a big difference to be able to get to 2 finals. And I think that's exactly what we need to focus on as well. Needless to say, the number one thing is to have 4 guys in the top 50 or the top 100 for us to be able to make the world group. Otherwise, we are going to be kind of lagging behind.
Yeah, let's hope there's some change that's brought about in Indian tennis. But we'll talk about world tennis and Novak Djokovic. He continues to dominate and has somehow distanced himself from the rest. Reasons for that, you reckon? Of course, he's made so many changes to his game, his support staff. What do you reckon?
The whole slew of stuff. I mean, you can't actually, the top 3 guys that did this for the last couple of decades have won so much that it's hard to even quantify or imagine or put it into words. But the interesting thing about Djokovic in particular is I remember in the 1988 Olympics, I was sitting at the start line of the 100-meter dash, and it had Ben Johnson, Carl Lewis, Linford Christie, Otto Bolden, and it was incredible to watch these 8 guys run the 100. And I think 4 of them were under sub-10, and the 4th guy didn't even get a medal. And it reminded me of Usain Bolt in the last 10 meters of 100 meters, just literally looking behind to see how far back everyone was. And that's where Djokovic is today. You know, he's just kind of pulling ahead. But, you know, we talk about his wins, and I don't think we quite put it in perspective as what his record means. Because first, to have that kind of desire is unimaginable. Secondly, the work ethic that needs to go in to match that desire is even more unimaginable. The third is to be able to do it at the age bracket that he's in, when he sees the younger and the youngest chasing him left, right, and 60 with a huge target on his back. I think it's hard to put into words. So let's not even, we can talk about Djokovic as at a different wavelength, especially at a time when so much conversation is around artificial intelligence. And we start to wonder, you know, is he one of those?
Well, that's something, wouldn't it be, Vijay? But let's also talk about the one who's making all the headlines in the women's section. You love the Williams sisters, we know that, and I don't want to compare, but thoughts on Coco Gauff? You've interacted with her. Where does she get her grit from?
I saw it when she was actually 15, and she played Venus Williams on the center court at Wimbledon. And often enough, the 15 and 16-year-olds, everyone, they're without exception, to be honest, until we saw Tracy Austin win the US Open at 16. But I think when you look at someone like that, we look at them and say, oh, they are spectacular because they pushed the champion to the 3rd set, or we pushed the champion to 8-6 in the 3rd. But very rarely do they close out a match to win it. And at 15 and a half years old, for Coco Gauff to do that on the center court at Wimbledon against Venus Williams, her idol almost and a mentor, and beat her on the biggest stage of all, and close out that match, gave me a strong feeling that she's the real deal. And to a great extent, Alcaraz fits that bill too. But Coco Gauff, I think, has matured sooner than even Alcaraz, and she's not willing to take a loss. And you really take it as badly as you should, because that's what you really want. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing, as the great Vince Lombardi said. So I think when you look at what Coco Gauff has achieved this summer, to win Washington, to win Cincinnati, and then come in there not feeling tired or mentally drained or any of that, I think is a huge, big plus for American tennis. And Coco Gauff is the real thing. She's going to be around a long time. All we hope for is that her personal life stays secure and her health stays well, so that she can continue to break records.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Vijay. Pleasure as always.
Rupa, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
Right, of course, you can catch the entire interview of that on our platform. But moving on, of course, to our Decode segment. This is to delve a little deeper into some aspects of an event or an incident. We started the show with Asia Cup, and let's wrap it up with the Asian Games. The 19th edition of the Asian Games will begin. The opening ceremony will officially take place on the 23rd, though many of the matches will start from the 19th. Now, just a bit about the Asian Games, or the Asiad as we call it. It is held once every 4 years. The inaugural Games in 1951, right here in Delhi, India. The Games were regulated by the Asian Games Federation till about 1978. Since the 1982 Games, they have been organized by the Olympic Council of Asia, which is the OCA. This is the second largest multi-sport, multi-nation event after the Olympics. 9 countries have hosted the Games so far, and 46 countries were part of this till Israel was excluded post-1974 edition. So now it's 45 nations. So here we are at the 19th Asiad. Who are some of the top stars that we should be watching out for? Let's line up a few for you today. Now we'll start with one of the favorites, 25-year-old Neeraj Chopra. He finished second at the Diamond League finals over the weekend. Well, after starting out with a foul attempt, Neeraj managed to throw only 83.80 meters, nowhere close to his best, but enough to finish behind Czech Republic's Jakub Valdec with an 84.24 meter attempt. But Neeraj is the defending champion at the Asian Games, so no reason he won't come back stronger. The javelin throw competition is scheduled for the 4th of October. He's one of my favorites, and another in the athletics division, I promise I'm not partial, is Qatar's Mutaz Barsham for high jump gold. Now, he's quite a star and a fan favorite, especially after he displayed exemplary sportsmanship when he agreed to share the gold medal with Italy's Gianmarco Tamberi in the Tokyo Olympics. We all remember those visuals. He's 32 years old, a 3-time world champion, and had a disappointing outing at the World Athletics Championships in Hungary, so he's definitely hungry for more. Third on the spot list for me, the Indian cricket team, the women. The matches are scheduled to start on September 19. The Indian team, of course, have got a bye in a couple of their matches, so they will straight head to the quarterfinals. This is, of course, the first time cricket is returning to the Asiad after a break of nearly a decade. Cricket has made fleeting appearances in multi-sport events such as these. 2010 and 2014 were 2 editions that saw cricket featured. India did not participate in both men and women events in those editions, and Pakistan women won the gold on both those times. Now, cricket makes a comeback with it, the Indian teams too. The women have fielded their full strength with Harmanpreet Kaur at the helm. 9 teams are participating in this edition. The men, owing to World Cup obviously overlapping, are sending their second string led by Ruturaj Gaikwad. Time to showcase just one more star to watch out for, and we will shift to a racket sport, table tennis and Ma Long. The 34-year-old, considered one of TT's greats, will be in action in front of his home crowd. He's currently ranked number 3 in the world. He created history at the Tokyo Olympics, becoming the first paddler to win back-to-back Olympic gold medals. He's one of the favorites here and having won gold at the Asiad in 2010. That's all we have time for on First Sports. But before we say bye, we thought of leaving you with a parting shot. We're calling it The Last Serve. Today, we thought of getting a little tongue-in-cheek and featuring a certain Indian skipper who seemed to have forgotten his passport to leave and get back to India. It's all in good jest, we promise, Rohit. We know it's a tough job. You've got the world of the weight on your shoulders. It's a crown of thorns, the captain of the Indian cricket team. And of course, that made the fans get a little extra glimpse of you. But that's all we have the time here on this first ever episode of First Sports. We hope you enjoyed this broadcast as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Thanks for watching. Good night.